Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, doing the what's next on Canelo Alvarez, the now undisputed, the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. Only the technically seventh man in history to accomplish, and the four belt era, which has been going on for about 30 years. He's the first guy, or he's only the seventh guy to accomplish that feat, which is a rare and impressive feat. Big time win. You know, they're dominating Caleb Plant, stopping him in 11 rounds and unifying all four belts. So now, you know, the big question, Canelo's a pound for pound king, he's the undisputed champion. The big question now is what's next for the undisputed super middleweight champion, Canelo Alvarez, following that win? Well, you know, it's really, the truth is we don't know. For me, Canelo can float between one of three divisions, to be honest. And we're going to go through those really quick and see what is possible. So let's start with the 160-pound middleweight division. And I'm going to run through these ones quick. You know, I'll break down the ones that I think are possible. But if there's no possibility, I'm not even going to really get into detail as to why so much. But I will. I'll give a brief description on each one because there's three divisions to cover. 1 second. The first division is the 160-pound middleweight division, which if Canelo stays at 160, I think it's more likely that he invites up middleweight to fight him. So I'm going to look at the options from that division, and we're going to start with the number one Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, in a rubber match, a third fight between these two. I think it's possible Triple G at the end of December is taking on Ryota Murata in a unification bout. I've heard that it's less likely that Triple G gets the fight, but I think he has just as good a chance as anybody, maybe if not more, because it's probably the biggest money fight that can happen. If Triple G looks good in his fight against Murata and unifies belts at middleweight, I think it makes all the sense in the world to strike while the iron's hot and fight Canelo now in a third fight. You know, so I think Canelo might shy away from it because Triple G's 39 now. People are going to give him shit if he fights him and he beats him, but it's going to make the most money and it'll put a stamp on their rivalry. And I really think if Canelo's going to not fight David Benavidez next, I think he needs a good, solid name opponent for May. And I think Triple G makes all the sense in the world, especially if Triple G's coming back off of a big win, which I believe Triple G gets. So I think the possibility of Canelo Triple G3 is really there. So, you know, I really wouldn't write off Canelo to make this fight possible. He can go back to DAZN whenever he wants and fight. So I definitely think it's possible. Next is the undefeated WBC middleweight champion, Jermall Charlo. Again, is another fight I think is very possible. Canelo can, you know, because Charlo technically could pass up Benavidez for the mandatory shot by cashing in. He's a champion in another weight class, and the WBC firmly has a rule that if you give up your belt and move up in weight, you move ahead of the number one contender in that division, and Charlo could do that. Now, does Canelo want to fight Charlo next? I think he will. I don't think Canelo cares if he's got to give up belts, but he just fought with the PBC. He made a lot of money. He's pay-per-view now. And I think this probably, in terms of name, undefeated, young, he's not going to get criticism because the guy's old. I think it's the fight that makes the most sense. And I think Canelo comes in a heavy favorite. And I think it's the fight that Canelo should be looking at, because shut Charlo's mouth. Just shut his mouth and move forward after that. I think this fight's very possible for Canelo in May, and it's probably the one that he should take. Number 3 is the undefeated WBO middleweight champion, Demetrius Andre. It's always a possibility, Canelo and Andre, but Andre, in my opinion, still hasn't done enough to earn a Canelo fight. I don't think Charlo has either, but Charlo at least has a name and an attractive style. Andre has a style that is made to just make you look bad. And Canelo, I mean, I just don't think he's going to get much out of knocking out Andre, out of beating him. I don't think he's going to make a lot of money. It's not going to be a big money fight, and I don't think a lot of people are really interested in seeing this fight. So, and I don't think it does much for Canelo's legacy to beat Andre. He is undefeated, though, and he is, in my opinion, a back burner option. So I'm not going to completely rule it out, but I don't think Canelo takes this fight. Number 4 would be a rematch with Arizolandi Lara. I'm not seeing this one. There's no sense in it. I think Lara would move up and fight him, but what's the point for Canelo? I mean, even if he fought Lara and decisively beat him, he would shake off that win from a few years ago in 2014, but is it really a fight at this point? They're just going to criticize him. Canelo gets criticized already for fighting older fighters, and he's going to fight Lara, who barely moved up to 160. He's going to have him move all the way up to 168, knock him out when he's like 36, 37. Nobody's going to give him credit for that, and it's not a big money fight anyway. I don't see that one happening. Number 5, Jaime Minguia. I don't see it. They're both with, Minguia's with DAZN and Golden Boy. I don't think Canelo's interested in working with Golden Boy unless he absolutely has to. Now, Minguia's a good opponent. Minguia's tough. It's tough as hell. But, unless it's a fight he has to make that people are demanding, Canelo's made it clear he doesn't want to fight other Mexican fighters, so I don't see this one. Real quick, Sergey Derevyanchenko, no chance of this one happening. Hasn't done enough, not a big name. Ryota Murata, the WBA champion, the 2-time WBA champion right now at 160. He's fighting Triple G next. If Murata were to upset Triple G, I absolutely think Canelo would fight him in May. I really do, because he'd be unified champ. He would have knocked out Triple G. He's a former Olympian, and I think, honestly, in Japan, that'd be a huge fight. Canelo almost took this fight. I don't think he would shy away from this fight if Murata beat Triple G. Now, I don't think Murata's going to beat Triple G, so I don't think it happens, but I think the possibility is there if he pulls off the upset in December over Triple G. Number 8, Chris Eubank Jr. No way. I mean, where's the upside for Canelo in fighting Eubank? Eubank hasn't done anything since he beat James DeGale. He's barely been in a ring. No way, I don't see it. Kazakh style, Zanabak Alamkanaluni, or whatever his name is. He's coming off the win over Rob Brandt, but he's not a big name, no way. And number 10, Luis Arias, no way. He's beat Jarrett Hurd, but I don't think there's a chance in hell that Canelo gives him a look. So I'm going to say no to that one. We go to 168. Canelo's pretty much cleaned up 168. He's number 1 there. He's the undisputed champion. Let's take a look. Number 2, David Benavidez. Absolutely, I mean, it could happen. Canelo could consider this fight. His people are saying it's going to be a couple years before he fights a guy like Benavidez, or fights Benavidez. Personally, if Canelo wants to absolutely dominate, he'll fight Benavidez next. It's a mandatory fight by the WBC, but the WBC likes to play with their mandatories. They don't necessarily commit to their mandatories 100%. So that doesn't mean just because he's the mandatory, he's going to fight Canelo. I think it's possible, but I think Canelo's going to want to fight somebody else like Charlo or Triple G, and they're going to make Benavidez fight somebody to kind of mandate that fight for possibly later in the year. Or Canelo's just going to give up the belt. I don't think he's running from Benavidez, but if Canelo's desire is to stay at 168 and he's not going to get one of the names from 160 to come fight him, then he should fight Benavidez, because in reality, there's really only Benavidez left now in terms of name recognition, undefeated record. That's really all who's left at 168 now, realistically, for Canelo. But you got number 3, Danny Jacobs. He already beat Danny Jacobs a couple years ago. Jacobs hasn't done anything to earn a rematch, no way. Number 4, Billy Joe Saunders. He knocked him out earlier this year. No reason for a rematch. Number 5, Caleb Plant. Knocked him out. No reason for a rematch. Number 6, I have Gabriel Rosado. No reason for that. Rosado just lost to Minguia at 160. No way Canelo fights him. Number 7, Anthony Durrell. Slight chance, but I highly doubt it, because Durrell has not done anything. He really hasn't done anything to earn a Canelo fight. It wouldn't be a big money fight. I'm not seeing it. Number 8, Kyron Davis just lost to Benavidez. No way. He was number 8. Number 9, John Ryder. No. Canelo, there's no reason for Canelo to take Ryder unless he's desperate. And then number 10 is Jesse Hart. Another one, no reason for this fight to happen, so I'm going to say no. 175, I'm going to run through that real quick. Dimitri Bivol, I don't see it. Canelo doesn't need that fight. And Bivol is, he hasn't even set up a big-time fight and really had a big-time win recently to where people are going to be like, oh, you have to fight him. Now, Arthur Beterbiev, the number 2 unified light heavyweight champion of the world, is taking on Marcus Brown in his next fight in December. And I think that's a good matchup for Canelo because most people have Beterbiev right at the top of the division. I have Bivol slightly ahead of Beterbiev, but it's close. But I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo wanted this fight, but I don't think he's going to pick this fight. I don't see it. I like the matchup, but I don't see him picking this one. Number 3, Joe Smith Jr. He's a WBO champion. I mean, again, another fight that I think Canelo has a big, edge in terms of talent and stuff, but is it a fight he needs? He's already won that title at 175, so I'm not sure it's a fight he needs, but it's a fight he could get, and I guess it's a fight I wouldn't completely rule out, but I don't think he's going to do it. Then you got Eleider Alvarez. There's no sense in this fight at 175 for him. He's not a title holder. I honestly only think Canelo's going to 175 if possible to fight a champion. And those are the champions that I just ran through. Other names: Gilberto Ramirez, Marcus Brown, Badu Jack, Maxime Vlasov, Lyndon Arthur, Anthony Yard. I don't see Canelo giving any of those guys a crack unless they were willing to come down to 168. So for me, the most likely option for Canelo Alvarez next is a showdown with Triple G if he beats Murata. The winner of Triple G Murata, I think, has a good chance. I honestly think Jermall Charlo is probably the most likely choice. I really do. I think Charlo's probably the most logical option overall. And then I think David Benavidez is like the third option. So I really think it's going to be Charlo, the winner of Triple G and Murata. I think Benavidez and Demetrius Andre are right around the same boat right there, coming in like 4th and 5th options. That's what I think. That's what I think what's next for Canelo, but we really don't know. But to me, in terms of those, what's going on in that, in that division, in and around 160 to 175, I think Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol and Joe Smith, because they're all champs at 175, are outside options for Canelo to move up and possibly face them. And that's it. That's the what's next on Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world and the pound-for-pound king. Hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.